Good afternoon, Nicole Hellendoorn. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm amazing. So we are with Nicole Hellendoorn, founder of California Paleo Kitchen. She has taken time out of her lovely day to spend with us and enlighten us and give us some insight into her world and what she knows, and I'm sure we'll all find it extremely valuable. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Love it.
We can begin the way we begin all our conversations, and that is, what is lifestyle design? What does it mean to design one's ideal lifestyle?
To me personally, I think it's taking the liberties of curating your life in a fashion that resonates with your principles and your ideals with a blatant disregard for the norm. I think that, we've all been raised in certain family settings and certain societal standards that emphasize a certain path. And it's, either you follow in your parents' footsteps or you go to college or you do this type of job or that type of job or you get married, you don't get married, you have kids. There's a set of expectations that come with, being a part of our society. And for me, lifestyle design is really taking a look at what those expectations are and identifying which components, if any, resonate with your personal ideals and how you want your life to be on a day-to-day basis and figuring out a path from there. So it's constructing your own existence and figuring out what works for you.
I love it. I love it. Curating. Curating is such
Yes.
a powerful word in
Yeah.
relation to one's life.
Yes. And I don't know, it's actually kind of caught on as a buzzword in lifestyle design lately. It's curating one's life is kind of how I've heard it used. And I actually heard it used by pretty much the queen of commercialization of lifestyle, which is Martha Stewart. And the actress Blake Lively is now trying to follow in her footsteps and become like a domestic doyenne and kind of do this curation lifestyle thing. So
We're,
that's where I've heard it most recently.
we're this beautiful art show, and all our pieces are fabulous, and we want to best display them and present the best art we can at all times.
Yeah. Well, and be able to live in it and experience it, right? Because
Hmm.
isn't that art's true purpose is to kind of evoke emotional response and hopefully
Yes.
happiness or peace or whichever
I
set
think
of feelings you'd like to go with that day?
I think it's yeah. I think it's art's true purpose is to give us life, uh,
Yeah.
to truly express what it is to live, the full range of emotions. So I love that curating. And you said something about your ideals. You
Hmm.
need to know what you stand on. What do you stand for? Why do you wake up in the morning? What are the values? Why do you do it?
For me personally,
Oh, I mean, I was saying
or just
that's
what
what
are
people need to know, but
they?
if you want to share.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of it's interesting. It's like you really have to know yourself, and that's a cliche, right? But again, you kind of go through life with, certain schooling or certain thoughts, and it might take a while to find your footing and figure out who you are as a person. But yeah, it's finding out what makes you good, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what type of relationships do you value most, who you like to have around you, what you want in your surroundings, what you respond to, what inspires you. You got to know yourself,
And
and that's kind of difficult.
that goes perfectly against going against the normal, because the normal doesn't say you should do a lot of work on you. You
Yeah.
should you should uh, you should say no more than you say yes. So that you find out what you care about, what you're passionate about. You shouldn't worry so much about the health insurance. You know, you shouldn't worry so much about the money. You should worry
Right.
about like living life now to the fullest and doing exactly what your heart wants to do. So it is so much of going against the norm is the only way that you can discover oneself. The
Hmm.
definition of normal is fitting into the standard. And that's the last thing I think you and I think most people who visit our sites want to do. They don't want to fit into the standard. They want to
Yeah.
break out,
Yeah.
beat to their own drum.
Yeah, and I wish that we could get to a point where the norm wasn't such a bad thing, where we did talk about, especially when you're talking about, children when they're younger and forging their own identities, where there were more introspective exercises, more journaling, more, let's talk things out, the touchy-feely, some people call it woo-woo stuff. But I feel like if people had more of that built into the school system and built in with their family structure, that they might know themselves a little bit better and they might have an easier go of it as adults.
I think that's the goal that we are attacking. Fellow light workers such as yourself.
Yep.
I think we're just trying to make a new norm,
Yep.
make a
Yep.
new norm, or make a new mold completely,
Yep.
so that we break out, and by breaking out, we really find what it is to be free.
Totally.
Tell me, what is your daily cocktail for the soul? What are the essential things that Nicole needs in order to keep reaching for the stars but keep her feet on the ground?
I need a lot of sleep. I am a championship sleeper. I use a Jawbone Up wristband to track my sleep patterns. I am known for getting about 5 hours of deep sleep a night. The times that I feel best, honestly, I'm not an early riser. I can get up early if I have to, but I'm not. Naturally, I wake up around 9 or 10. So my ideal day would be waking up between 8 and 10. Then obviously food, very important to me, which we'll get into later, but it's definitely a combination of protein, some eggs, some pork belly, bacon, whatever I've got in the fridge. A green smoothie also helps every day, once a day, to keep the doctor and buggies away. And then I like to be physically active. Like, as much as I like my relaxed chill time, the days that I feel best are the days where I spend an hour either doing some like really high intensity interval, like resistance training with kettlebells, or kind of like a more cardio focused Pilates. So those are my main things that I need every day. The perfect day would also include some free time, some relaxation time, maybe a nap, because I like to sleep, and maybe some outdoor time, like a hike or something like that. Yeah.
Sleep is powerful.
Yep. Oh, and my doggy. I can't, every day she, has that little personality that makes me laugh, aggravates me, or I just think it's completely endearing. So I need that little boost of energy.
Little love. I've been wanting a dog lately.
It's a lot. I got her as a puppy.
I haven't done it, but I've been thinking about it a lot.
Well, okay, let me just tell you. So where we're staying now, we do not have a fenced-in yard. And right before this phone call, we just spent 20 minutes chasing her because she got out. So she actually ran into one of our neighbors' houses. Their front door was open, and she just ran into their house. So we got her back. She's fine. She's on timeout right now because that was a bad thing to do. But we literally, my boyfriend and I spent 20 minutes running around the yards trying to get her.
I'm glad you got her back.
Yeah, me too. But, it's like, it's one of those things, like, as a parent, you are so aggravated and angry, but also so relieved. It's like when you see them running away from you, it's the scariest thing ever. You're just like, I don't know what to do.
I was dog sitting for a professor of mine, and this dog was... Kizzy was this woman's, like, that's her child. That's her joy.
Oh, yeah.
That's her everything. And I was taking care of Kizzy for 2 weeks. And one day I left the door open, and Kizzy ran out. And I've never in my life ran so fast, screaming down the streets of LA, saying, like, please catch this animal. I could have run maybe 2 miles just, like, straight until I ended up, like, sliding into this dog. Caught it, brought it back, and never told her. Hopefully she doesn't watch this. It was one of the scariest things. Yeah, I got that animal meant the world to her.
Yeah. Well, you have to do this, like, reverse psychology where you actually have to run away from them so they chase you back, and then you got to trap them. There's a lot going on.
A lot going on. Very present.
A lot going on.
Very present when trying to get your animal back.
Mm-hmm.
Please tell us about California Paleo Kitchen. When did it start? Why did it start?
So I have myself been eating paleo for about 2.5 years. One of my best friends and business partners is a celiac. She also has casein and soy allergies. I myself don't have any diagnosed food allergies, but have always felt a little overweight. I come from an Italian family where we ate a lot of things like bread. My grandpa was actually a bread baker. Pasta, and a lot of the Western diet that is very, very typical in most people's families these days. So while I didn't have food allergies, I was always trying to tweak my diet and figure out new ways to kind of maintain my weight loss, lose more fat, be healthier, yada, 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 list goes on. So around that time, about 2.5 years ago, I discovered paleo. For me, I did a first 6 weeks of pretty strict hardcore paleo, and it was pretty amazing. Like, I was in decent shape before, but I lost the last 5 pounds of pudge that I had hanging out. I felt, it was crazy. I felt better. I felt more vibrant, alert. I didn't have the afternoon sleepies around 3 o'clock in the office. I was just feeling very on, physically and mentally. So for me, it just made a huge difference. And I had always wanted a path to entrepreneurialism. Since I was a little girl, all I really, really wanted was to start my own business. But I just never knew what my thing was going to be. And it's hard to also take that leap because I was working in finance. I had a very secure job, making a decent amount of money in San Francisco. And it was hard for me to kind of take that leap into the unknown. But I decided earlier this year that I was going to do it, and that 2013 was going to be my year. Turning 30 might have had something to do with it. But I decided that where my strengths were really lying was in my ability to help other people actually make these day-to-day changes themselves. I had friends and family, once they saw my results, asking me how I did it. People would tell me that they were eating paleo and then tell me about their cheats. And I'm like, that's not a cheat. You're derailing everything. And I would rip apart their cupboards. Or I would threaten to rip apart their cupboards. And so the concept for California Paleo Kitchens was really about being like hands-on implementation and assistance for people, but also kind of giving them that like concierge level, very personalized coaching and touch along with it. So what we do is everything from coaching to weekly grocery delivery. We will rip apart your pantry and we do a paleo kitchen makeover. We'll take you shopping and teach you how to shop better. We'll teach you how to cook and do other things and substitute common ingredients or even just change your favorite recipe. And then, we do weekly grocery delivery because sometimes you'll have to go to a couple different stores to get everything you need. And, maybe for a busy mom, that's not how she wants to spend her Sunday. She'd rather hang out with her kids, or just someone who's an avid CrossFitter and has a really high-powered job. They just don't want to take that time. There's also a decent population of people who really hate grocery shopping, and I actually like it. So for me, that's a great way to help people. It makes their lives easier. It keeps them on track. And then we coach them through their transition and beyond, whatever they're looking for.
And we're grateful, P.S., that 2013 is your year, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can people work with you who do not live in California?
Absolutely. I do remote coaching everywhere via Skype, just how we're talking right now. We have, coaching sessions this way. I provide a lot of reference materials via email or hard copy if you'd prefer. So I talk to almost all of my coaching clients are remote, to be honest. But then I have a few local grocery delivery and cooking clients. But we can also jump on Skype and do a cooking demo where I can walk you through a recipe or anything like that.
There's also, I'm sure now, how many supermarkets and grocers do delivery online, so you could still do it for them
right
from your computer.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. I can always facilitate it that way. The thing with certain grocery delivery services that I personally still think that there's a niche for the one-on-one service is they'll make substitutions on your behalf. And if you're eating in a very specific dietary fashion, those substitutions might not be what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So I can always facilitate that, and I can get the delivery of the things that you need if you're out of state or out of Southern California. I can make it work. That's the whole point, is that it's concierge level. It's very personalized. It's essentially whatever the client needs to be successful.
So I found when I first went paleo, mm-hmm. all of a sudden I was eating the same thing every day. I ran out of options.
Yep.
Do you find that as a common theme?
I think that there are certain people who thrive on that. They really appreciate having a go-to plan that's the same thing over and over again because they learn how to make it, they like it, and they don't have a problem eating the same thing over and over again. Other people really need a lot of variety to stay on track. Otherwise, they find fast food or whatever it may be a little too tempting. But yeah, I do hear that quite often. It's usually pretty easy to combat. I usually just, we talk about seasonality a lot with people, what vegetables are in season, or just taking the same ground beef or ground turkey that you have and are comfortable cooking with, and how do you season it differently and give it a different flavor profile. So it's essentially anything like that. We can make little tweaks here and there. I give people tons of recipes that I've tried myself, or I'll just make something for them and be like, try this. I'm always trying to get people to try new things too, like things like lamb or liver if they're hesitant. I'm like, well, what if you try it this way, and then try to surprise them, pleasantly surprise them.
It was a huge game changer when I started eating organ meat.
Right.
It's so much cheaper, number one, because no one wants it, and it's delicious.
Yeah, you have to know what you're doing in terms of preparation, and it can take some getting used to, but it's actually very, very good for you. And it is very cheap. It's a very sustainable, easy way for people to go paleo and get a lot of the iron. They're very iron-rich, the blood organs, and some other nutrients that they might be lacking.
I'm a huge smoothie fan. Most of my readers are. What is your favorite green smoothie?
I have two. So, and they're both really, really good. So I'll tell you. And what I tell people all the time with clients is that they're like, "Oh, I love smoothies. I have smoothies all the time." I'm like, I ask right away, "Are you putting a nut butter in it? Are you putting a nut butter in it? Are you using almond milk or coconut milk that comes in a milk type carton? And how much fruit are you putting in?" And between those three things, they're usually creating more problems for themselves than good. And just to give you the rundown on that, when you're using the nut butters, goes a very, very long way. And most people don't realize that a serving is like a little bit less than a teaspoon. And with nuts, you just don't want to overdo it because of the omega-6 issue. You want to keep your omega-6s in line with your omega-3s. And then when it comes to fruit, like it's just a small handful. And I tend to stay away from high glycemic stuff. I tend to just do berries full of antioxidants. So blueberries, strawberries, cherries, raspberries, and banana. Mango I like sometimes, but it is a little bit of a high glycemic food, so I don't really go there too often. And then the other thing I completely lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. You're going to have to edit this.
Mango, blueberries.
Yeah.
Avoiding sugar.
And avoiding the sugar. Yes, you only do a little bit of fruit. You don't want to do too much nut butter, if at all. And if you're using coconut milk or almond milk, that's in a milk carton type container that has to be refrigerated. Look at the labels because they almost always have processing agents and thickeners added. So people think they're being very paleo, but they might be using an almond milk that has a ton of other junk in it. That being said, my two favorite green smoothies are, it's one that's based on I actually started making it after visiting Nature Well, which is in Silver Lake. I don't know if you've ever been to Nature Well.
I went there this morning. That's really
okay.
funny.
The kale apple cinnamon.
I've never had that one.
That one? Okay, so what I do with mine, yeah, it's very tasty. They do put agave syrup in it, though. So you either have to ask them to leave it out or just indulge, and we won't tell anyone. It's just between us. But what I do is I do kale, some shredded coconut, unsweetened, dried shredded coconut. I do a little bit of applesauce or apple, just however is easiest for you. I blend those together, and I use cinnamon and coconut milk. So yeah, so apple, kale, coconut, cinnamon.
Amazing.
Yeah, and if you want a little touch of honey and you're not quite there with the greens yet, a little touch of honey or something like that can really make it a lot more palatable for you. So that's one of them. Second one I have almost all the time, and it's full-fat coconut milk. All my smoothies completely full-fat canned coconut milk, BPA-free. So I do coconut milk, I do a banana, I do about 2 to 3 handfuls of spinach, a small handful of mixed organic, the antioxidant blend berries, which are like your blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, and strawberries. I do shredded coconut, chia seeds, cinnamon, and sometimes I'll put extra gelatin in it as a supplement.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. Mine, that makes mine seem boring in comparison.
What's yours?
It's pretty much the same thing every morning. I do silly amounts of spinach in my Vitamix. I'll put if I have a nut butter, which I don't always, because sometimes I'll just eat it the night before. If I have a nut butter, I'll put a nut butter in a macadamia or an almond butter. Mm-hmm. Macadamia that's a special treat.
Delicious. Yeah, those are really good for you. They have great unsaturated fat.
I'll put a ton of cinnamon, blueberries. I could eat blueberries for days. Coconut water. Mm-hmm. And then if I have coconut meat, I'll use coconut meat. Put something in there, and I'll just blend it up and drink it up. And it's not as exciting as yours, but it is pretty delicious.
That doesn't sound boring. It sounds really good.
It's really good. It helps me out in the morning.
Yeah.
I am a huge believer that, one green smoothie a day will keep the doctor away. For me, it's also, I can eat so many greens so efficiently, so fast.
Yeah.
I can just knock it out.
Yeah. Once you get like a high-powered blender, it's like game over. I just start throwing everything in my smoothie. And next thing I know, it's like 2 meals worth of food. I'm like,
But it's just literally like, let me just get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Got my vegetables in for the day. Woo!
Yeah. And I use also a powder supplement. It's called Green Vibrance, and it has a ton of antioxidants and it has a ton of probiotics, which for people who don't eat dairy, with paleo, if they're paleo and not primal, so they avoid dairy, you want to get your probiotics either from your fermented foods or from other sources. So I use the green powder to help supplement, to make sure I'm getting all my probiotics, all my amino acids, and just knocking it out of the park.
I love it. So there is different sorts of paleo.
There are shades of paleo, yeah.
Great.
Some people include dairy. Dairy is one of the main groups where it seems to be okay to include it if it works for you. But, most people would advocate that you really abstain for a while before you reintroduce it to see what your reaction is.
I don't do dairy because I'm lactose intolerant, but...
Do you use ghee?
I have used ghee, yeah. I do use ghee every once in a while.
And that didn't upset you, right? Because it's all removed.
No, it doesn't upset me.
Good.
Neither does the Kerrygold Irish butter, though.
The grass-fed butter?
Yeah, if I cook with that, I'm usually fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but I won't be drinking a glass of milk or eating any cheese anytime soon.
Yeah, no, me neither. Actually, way before I knew what paleo was, I was already avoiding dairy because it just tore my stomach up. I just never felt great after having it. So
yeah, it's good. It's good to feel good. I think that's why we do what we do. It's good to feel good. It's good to wake up with abundant energy and to have it for the day and to be excited for life and like to have purpose. It's like, here you go. I've got this great body that just wants to support everything I want to conquer and achieve and learn with my day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly why we do what we do.
I think we'd all absolutely love a article from you about your smoothie making.
Oh, dang.
And your tips and tricks. I think the nut butter serving is spot on, and it is a mistake that it's just so good.
Is it so good?
It's just so good, which is why I said when I have it in my house, because I will sometimes not buy it because I'll just go right to town with it. So
there's that brand. Are you familiar with the Justin's nut butter brand?
I am.
So they make little single serving packets. I actually have one in my pantry. They're like 1.15 ounces. Mm-hmm. So if you only have those in your house and you just have one at a time, like that's a good serving. But some of the flavor combinations don't get crazy. They have palm oil and some sugar. So don't get carried away. But in terms of a serving size and a pouch that's like portable and you don't have to worry about eating too much of it, those little packets are awesome. And they're like $1 a pop. Beautiful. Nicole, thank you so much for your time. Yeah. No problem. Thanks so much for having me. It's been great. And we can all look forward to working with you. You're offering a phenomenal service when the store goes live on the 22nd. And people can contact you and work with you, and that's exciting. Yeah. And you have some incredible articles already on the site, and we are so glad to have you, so thank you. Yes, of course. Thanks so much for having me. Have a beautiful day. You too. Thanks, Christopher. Bye. Bye, everybody.